Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast, ice cold edition. Boys, Cole Palmer 4, Brighton and Hove Albion 2. Good weekend, but we got a full house. You got myself, Andy, you got Matt, you got Parker. Parker, we'll start with you. How you doing?
We have a full house and hopefully not a corrupt file because we recorded last week, promise everybody, but files got corrupt and so we didn't have anything to put out. So that sucks. Sorry on our part. Weekend was good. Week's been good. Weekend's been good. I was at a work conference for the first half and then pretty chill weekend here. Not too much going on in the Gross household except for just getting ready for baby. So don't have a ton to report to you guys. It's been nice. The only thing that was fun was Carolyn and I went to the British Bulldog to watch the match yesterday. So got up relatively early, hit the road, and made some friends at the pub. But it was fun that Carolyn joined me this time. So it was her first time going to the British Bulldog, which was lovely. Got breakfast and coffee, and then coffee quickly switched to beers. And it's always fun to put back 3 or 4 beers before 10 a.m. So it's a good day. It doesn't lead to you getting much done for the rest of the day, but it's a good day. Matt, how was your weekend, man?
It was good. Can't complain too much. I'm trying to remember what I even did this weekend. And
Did you play in a tournament?
Yes, I did. Thank you. That's how long it's been. I played in a volleyball tournament on Saturday. Just a little fundraiser for somebody in the volleyball community. So I just got asked kind of randomly to play, and I said, yeah, sure, just mess around. And it was a great feeling. I didn't have to try that hard. I didn't really sweat at all. I woke up not sore. So successful tournament. And then today, just hanging out with the little man. Wife was working a few hours this morning, so just hanging out with him, letting him run around and do whatever. Help my dad out with something, and then came home, made dinner, and watched the first half of the game because I wasn't able to catch any of it on Saturday. So yeah, it was good. And I'm off tomorrow, which is fantastic. So I'm going golfing, and then I will be in Disney the rest of the week. So I'm finally taking a break from work, which has been probably long overdue by any of my coworkers if you were to ask them. So just got a week off, and I figure you might as well start it off right, do some golfing on Monday, and then just head down to Disney for the rest of the week. So can't complain too much. All's good. Collins, how was the weekend, man?
Well, Matt, first let me start by saying I know you, and I swear to God, if you bring your work laptop to Disney with you, you're kicked off the pot. I'm about to be real mad at you.
It
But
will
no,
not
no,
be coming with me, I promise. My wife will make very sure of that.
good, good. But no, it's good. So first of all, we moved about a month ago, and we're finally all situated. So Saturday was before Aiden's American throw egg ball game. We didn't have a lot of time, Chelsea game, to that, so I didn't have time to drive down to Highbury, find parking, do all that, and then drive out to this game. So we walked over to Red Lion Pub, which is just on the other side of the river from us. First time there. I've heard it's a Tottenham bar. Not a Tottenham fan to be seen. Granted, they didn't play yesterday, but great breakfast, good atmosphere. They had, I think, 4 different games on. Everybody in the room cheering when Arsenal conceded. So good spot. I apologize I know Hector and Scott listen. Apologize I couldn't make it to Highbury, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And today, up in good old Warrens, Wisconsin for Cranberry Fest. So picked up some nice little goodies there, and some cranberry vodka, some old fashioned mix, some good stuff. So overall, a good weekend. But that weekend started out right. Mentioned it earlier. 4-2 victory. Cole Palmer becomes the first player in Premier League history to score 4 goals in the first half of a match. He ties, I think he ties Lampard and one other player or two other players for most hat tricks in the Premier League in Chelsea history with his third. So the boy can do it all. Just fantastic. But there was a whole game being played outside of Cole Palmer. So we'll start with initial reactions, boys, like we always do every week. Matt, you're fresh off of watching that first half. What do you think?
Cole Palmer did his best. Greg Jennings put the team on my back, dude. Like he went full blown. It was ridiculous. I was actually watching it with my wife before we were putting the little guy to bed, and she goes, "He looks like he's 12." I said, "Well, he's only 22." It's like, so he is pretty much a baby, but I had her stop what she was doing right at the free kick because I knew that he had scored one. I was like, Just watch this." And she's like, "Oh, he's like that." I'm like, "Yes, yes, he is. That he is that man." No, it was I was surprised actually watching that game for two reasons. One we'll touch on a little bit later, which is the defending on both sides. I thought it was very lackluster, no matter how you kind of slice and dice it. But the other one was the constant pressure from Chelsea high up the pitch. We've we've seen that with different managers. We've seen spurts of it here and there, but never anything like that drastic or that impactful, I think is probably the better word, where we were actually seeing turnovers. We were actually making other teams, kind of feel how we look all the time. We always look disheveled in the back whenever there's pressure against us. It was good to see that script kind of flipped a little bit and to understand, oh, so this is what happens when we do it and it actually works. That's how we feel all the time. Got it. Understood. It was good to see. I want more of it. The Aside from Cole Palmer, the big thing that kind of stands out for me is how quickly Jadon Sancho has integrated himself into this team. I think that goes probably very unnoticed, but he is slotted into a very good sneaky signing for us. And I'm sure you guys have seen this too, but when you see like we bought Cole Palmer or we sold Mason Mount for, 60 mil plus add-ons, and that gave us basically Cole Palmer and Jadon Sancho. Like that was the return on that. And you look at it, you're like, okay, Palmer, he's definitely worth that hands down. But now looking at Sancho and what he can do with this team, he's kind of taken that left side as his own in a very short amount of time. So kudos to him. And just the way that he's kind of looked very reinvigorated, like he was at Borussia Dortmund. Like we've seen it seems like we're getting back to that caliber of Jadon Sancho. And I think for, the deal that we made for him, that's an absolute steal. And I think it's going to be probably one of those very underrated signings that not a lot of people maybe thought would happen, myself included. I didn't think it would really amount to anything. But I've been pleasantly surprised with how that's turned out so far.
Yeah, where do I go from there? I completely agree on the Sancho commentary. I was a naysayer at the start of it. I thought his salary was out of control, and for the amount that we were paying of it, I felt like we got taken a bit on that just because they got to offload a pretty large salary bill onto us. And yeah, boy has come into his own, and I kind of feel bad for Pedro Neto a little bit because when we signed Neto, he was kind of the marquee signing of the window for us. That left was, his for the taking. Sterling on the way out, Mudryk plays inconsistently, and and then Jadon Sancho comes and oh shit, like I got a lot more competition here. So I kind of feel a little bad for him, but hey, in a squad like Chelsea's, you have to kind of step up, and we have a deep squad now. And what interesting to see against Brighton was it was a full new 11 from the match that we played midweek. The fact that we have 22 that can play and have just an A squad, B squad, and I know it's not going to be like that for every match. There'll be intertwining and intermingling there, but a full 11 new starters against Brighton. It's pretty cool to see, especially I know we played Barrow, not the toughest of competition, but to win 5-0 there and then come back and win 4-2 in the Premier League. The boys are flying. The boys are scoring. The boys are creating a lot. Part of me thinks we've been really clinical, and part of me thinks we've been a little wasteful. I don't know where I fall on that line, because it seemed like we could have scored 9, yesterday. It felt like, Nico had a couple of really good chances, or a couple chances that got called offside. It just felt like it was an absolute onslaught and a barrage of attack from like the 12th minute to like the 35th, 40th minute, where we were just had, the foot on the gas and just kind of, went at them in a big way. So you love to see it. You love to see the win. Not without its errors, not without its mistakes, but if you can score 4, you're going to be hard to beat, kind of consistently. So, Collins, you have Cole Palmer to thank for Sanchez not being on the hot seat, because if we nil in this game and Sanchez had those mistakes, his ass gets kind of his butt gets a lot hotter, and Jorgensen might be called upon, right? And it still might be, but at the same time, when you get a win, it kind of negates that. And I remember back to last year, and the start of the fall of Bobby Sanchez last year was the Arsenal match. He threw a ball to Declan Rice. Declan Rice took it and scored, and we drew Arsenal, 2-2, and it was a late goal, or late-ish goal, that led to a draw that we gave away points to. From that moment, it was kind of writing on the wall for him, and he kind of lost his spot, lost a little bit of confidence. So I hope he can kind of bounce back after a rough outing. It was not his best, but it's always good when you can not be at your best and we still get a win. Where part of the team doesn't, come to play as everyone does, and we still are, and find a way to get the win. So I thought that there was a lot of interesting bits in the game, individual matchups that we really took advantage of. Matt, I like your call on the high press. That 4th goal was derived from a high press, which was awesome to see. And then we were clinical. It was like 3 passes and we're in. So it's been good to watch a lot of these things kind of come together. Boys are playing well, boys are gelling, and it's exciting. It's just like, it's fun to be at a pub when your team scores 4, and Cole Palmer, does it pretty much every way he can. 2 with his feet, 1 pen, and 1 world you have a free kick. So he heard us talking. We were like, hey, what about the right foot? And he tried with his right foot, and he puts it just wide, and we were like, oh, almost. And he was kind of mad at himself, but he tried for us. He heard us.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think he was listening. I think he's a follower of the pod. No, I have 2 first impressions, and they're both kind of related, I guess you could say. The first being that, and Parker, I texted you this as soon as we went down in the match. It's not a match where I felt like we weren't going to score, and I haven't felt that way yet this year. Last year there were very long stretches, and the year before there were very long stretches where we concede, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to lose. Like, we're not going to score, or we'll score a consolation goal in the 87th minute, something like that. Haven't felt that at all this year, which is a nice return to normalcy. It's a non-measurable form of progress, I think you could say, under this new manager, who is the right man for the job, unlike the guy who is leading the United States at the moment. But related to that, this is my other first impression, the offense is clicking, absolutely clicking. And it's not just individual players are clicking. It's not just Cole Palmer's clicking. It's that frontline unit is clicking as one. How many times did we see, Brighton playing that high line? Enzo plays a ball through that line, and Jackson, Madueke, and Sanchez are all on it, all unmarked. It happened 3 or 4 times in that first half. It was amazing. All 3 of them. In the past, under Poch, under Potter, you had Raheem Sterling not making any runs to break the line. You had kind of the reliance on Mudryk to have the IQ to like, okay, this is the moment I have to go. You didn't have the offense trying to break down that high press. And now it's working. And it's not this game, in a vacuum, it's kind of the whole season. There's only a handful of teams that have outscored Erling Haaland this year, and we are one of them. So I like what Maresca's doing with this group. I like the way this offense is flowing. And I'm not worried when we go down early, at least for now. But talking about that front line, and Matt, you touched on it a little bit. That's Jadon Sancho integrating well into the club. We always seem to have an issue with one wing or the other, right? It's never both are solidified. The right maybe isn't solidified at the moment, but it's not because both players there suck. The left, I think you're right. Sancho is kind of making that position his own. Why do you think he's been so quick to adapt?
I think he has freedom. I don't think he had that at United. I really don't, because if you think about when he signed there, he didn't really know where he was playing. He was kind of on the right, kind of on the left. Sometimes he was up top by himself. But at the end of the day, everything was funneled through Marcus Rashford, who's fallen from whatever graces he's had. You don't hear about him anymore. But everything was run through him. Everything was relying upon him. So with whatever system Ole had him in, whatever Ten Hag and the issues that he had with Sancho, like he needs freedom to operate. And you see that immediately with the dipsy doos that he is doing all the time. You see that with just kind of the flair and the swag that he came to Chelsea with, and he's able to do all of that. I don't think he had that freedom at United. I think he had it at Dortmund, right? Because at the time he was the guy. So I think he's one of those guys that you just let him go loose, let him have fun, let him do his thing, and you're going to get the results. And the other thing that I've noticed extremely well is he is tracking back like crazy. Especially with that inverted winger system that we're doing. I can't tell you how many times I see Kukure in the midfield, and then I'm like, great, who's back behind him? And then I look down and I see Sancho right there. I'm like, oh, okay, that's new. Yep, I like it. We have wingers that actually fully track back. It's something we've hoped for, but never really came to fruition, right? We always hope for, and we're like, oh yeah, they're not coming back. We're screwed. Um, but I think he's just buying into what Maresca's plan is. And Maresca has given him, the ability to kind of be himself out there. And I think, with the with the attackers that we have, and with that, we'll call it the attacking room or whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of players with a lot of who are better with a lot of freedom. And I think that's probably part of the system is, yes, there are going to be players who are probably going to take more people on one-on-one. Sancho can definitely take on people one-on-one, two-on-one if he really feels inclined. He's got the freedom to do that. So I think that's the biggest thing for him.
I think the bigger question is what happens on the right, because I know it's early and I know, but Sancho has kind of put his stamp on that. So Collins, what do you think? Like the way we lined up with those four, do you think that's what we do long term?
No, I think that right is going to be more of the adaptive side of it, right? You got Noni, who is kind of like Sancho in that he will try to take on dribble past players. You got Neto, who's a speed guy. Jesus, I'm blanking on who the hell's. Oh, João Felix play over there as well, who is. I don't even have words to describe João Felix. He is different than the other two. more technical, we'll say. Yeah, I don't know who slots in on that, right? I think it's going to be more of a matchup based thing. I think Sancho has solidified that left wing, and just with how silky he is on the ball. And as I was watching with my son Aiden at the pub, he just kept talking about how it seems like he just glides on top of the ball. Jadon Sancho. and he really does. He's got the kind of that magic touch there. So that's gonna be locked down. So then it's, how do we think the opposing team's gonna line up? How, what's our best matchup on that right wing? Um, I would like Pedro Neto to slot into that, but I can understand Noni going out there. I can understand Zhao going out there. I can understand Cole Palmer being moved out to the right for a match. I think that's kind of your utility position. What do you think?
The Palmer to the right, I think makes a lot of sense. And the reason I think it makes a lot of sense is because it frees up a spot for Christopher Nkunku, who I think is going to pretty much demand that he gets regular playing time. And if he keeps putting in 3 goals against teams, like he's going to get it. There's going to be a real fight in the 9 positions. I think Nico and Christo and Joao Felix and Palmer, and like there's going to be a lot of like swap around in there. And what's great about Palmer is he has the flexibility to go out on the right. So to me, when I look at the front 4 spots or even the front 6 spots, the one that's most in doubt is Madueke's. It's the least secured, if you will. So Paul, you don't want to play Palmer out of position, but I don't think playing him on the right wing is. It's just not his exact position where he has been playing so far to start the season. So if Felix played as a number 10, or if Nkunku played as a number 10, or if Felix played as a 10 and Christo plays as a number 9, like I can see a lot of those kinds of lineups being played and tested around. So that is, you said it last week, Collins, but that is just an embarrassment of attacking prowess. Like all of those options, none of them I included Neto in, and Neto's great too. So it's like, man, we have a lot of different looks. We have a lot of different options there. But I could see a lot of that getting tested out in a couple of these matches coming up.
I think the big thing is you don't burn anybody out. The only person you maybe burn out is Nico, but you've got other options that can slot in and take care of that if he needs a break, right? We talked about it last year. He played like 93% of the minutes all season or something ridiculous number like that because we didn't have anybody else. Now he's got time to take a break. We have people in there to do that. I don't think we're not at a point like we were in previous years where there is a significant drop off between who's starting and who's on the bench. It's not like, okay, well, there was a big difference between Raz and Mudryk, right? Like we all were calling for Mudryk at multiple points in the season because Raz just wasn't doing it. We were all calling for Noni on the right, stuff like that. You have so many options. You can't think of all of them. It's just impossible. But the thing is, if we're talking about a match that's very end to end, and I didn't watch the second half of the Brighton game, so I don't know if this even happened or not, but just thinking about it, if you have a very end to end game that is just chaos in the first half, kind of like it was with the Brighton game, you can bring on fresh legs, no problem. And you do not, I feel like we do not drop off the pace at all. Like everything still runs as a well-oiled machine, no matter who you throw out there. I still think we would have had same successes and everything like that had it been, Neto and, Joao Felix and Nkunku and stuff. Like I feel like it would have been pretty much the exact same. So you're not seeing that significant drop off, and you don't really have it. And if you're up, if you're up 4-1 or something at the first half, you want to save some guys, we have the ability to do that because, it's not like half our team is injured like it has been in the last 3-4 seasons. We have everybody available for the most part. We have options, so we can use them. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing to understand what those options are and what works and what doesn't.
So one of my favorite quotes that I saw post game, and I'm not sure if this was from Enzo's post game press conference, if it was from his pregame, but it seems to be linked very tightly with Noni Madueke. And it's that some young players score 1 goal and they think they're already at the top. I think Noni's got a little bit of that in him. He had 2 good games there, and then he's had now, I think, 2 or 3 games in a row where, it's been three, maybe two on the goalkeeper, where he's in possession of the ball, and instead of laying it off for the tap in to his teammate, he goes glory hunting, and hasn't produced on that front. That being said, he's still creating those chances, which is nice. So I think it's an interesting balance for Maresca to play at the moment. But Matt, like you said, with the fixtures we have coming up, there's gonna be chances to rotate chances for other players to catch fire here.
To be fair, so 2 games ago when Noni had I think it was like literally 4-on-1, I thought he completely botched it to the wrong thing. In the game against Brighton, I thought he made the right decision to take that shot. I don't think that the layoff was there, and I think he made the right choice of taking the shot. He just has to hit the target. He had a whole goal to aim at, and he missed. And if he hits that goal, no one's complaining about him taking that shot. And I know that that's revisionist history a bit. I just think that he made the right decision. He just didn't get the result. You have to be smarter about how you play that. And I think what's interesting about him in that position is put a ball not near post, put it towards the goal, because then if the save is made, you've got 3 other guys running on it. It's like he tried the glory shot of that near post kind of sneak in, and that's where I think he went wrong, but not the shot. I think the shot was proper.
So switching topics here. One thing that has been interesting over the last couple of years has been the Brighton Chelsea connection. And we have 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 Brighton associated people on the books right now. Robert Sanchez, Levi Colwell was on loan, Marco Correa, Moises Caicedo. Matt's gonna love this, but I think Cucurella has been the most up to it over the last 2 years when playing Brighton. He has pretty consistently held people in his pocket against Brighton.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that one bit. We see it out of him. He still plays with a chip on his shoulder, and even more so against Brighton. They boo him every single time he touches the ball. Yeah, that's obviously going to want to make you play better, play harder, do all this other stuff. Yeah, he made a move. A team wanted him. He said yes, and he went. The thing that a lot of people forget about a lot of this stuff is Cucurella, from what I recall, it was kind of a under the radar move. He didn't want there wasn't a transfer request or anything big like that. And the club has to sign off on it. That's the other thing. The club has to be like, yeah, okay, that amount of money feels right. You can go try and negotiate. So it's also on the club too. So I find it funny sometimes when fans are booing the player. It's well, the club had to make the first call too to say, yeah, that amount of money seems fair. You can go talk to him. I just find it funny how that always happens. Now, if it's something say, a Mason Mount situation, yes, boo the fuck out of him. That's fine. But these other ones, I'm the club is probably even more blamed than the actual player.
None of those Brighton fans were upset about it when they saw the number that got attached to it, right? Because everyone was saying that Brighton has fleeced Chelsea with all of these overpaid, huge record club deals. I mean, Cucurella's was massive. Caicedo's was near record breaking. Bobby was probably in the realm of fair, and Levi was ours, so it doesn't really matter. But look, everyone was talking about how they did one over on us. They uploaded all these players. I think where Brighton fans are mad is they did nothing with that money. They turned around and pocketed it. The owners got a nice little payday, and they spent nothing on their team to rebuild and to rejuvenate. Similar with Leicester back in the day when Leicester won the league and they sold half their team, like Riyad Mahrez and all those guys, and Conte left. They got all this cash. What did they do? Nothing. They did nothing. And they just they tried to just recreate the same thing with guys that came in and replaced them. It's you get this big payday, you got to do something with it. You're in the Premier League, you got to buy or die. Just got to keep up with people. And I think that's what pissed a lot of Brighton fans off.
Yeah, and I just find it interesting that Caicedo has yet to have a fantastic game against Brighton. He is the most expensive out of all of them. Bobby Sanchez, yes, he did not have a good year last year, so maybe it's too early to evaluate him against Brighton. Two errors in this one, as Parker pointed out to me pre-pod. Levi Colwell has yet to play well against Brighton, and he was ours from the onset. He was just loaned there. But Cucurella pretty consistently is the guy who's amped for this match or this fixture, as well as typically our higher end fixtures. He seems to be a growing master of shithouse, which I enjoy. And I'm just gonna leave this out here for Matt, who's talking shit in the group over the weekend. We didn't buy Cucurella to be a backup, so long live the Spaniard.
He did put one in the back of the net, which was fun to see. And I will give my wife credit. She will not hear this because she doesn't listen to the pod, but she literally goes like, I saw him come up, and they showed him on the screen, and she's like, "How about Cucurella scores right now?" And he put the ball in the net, and she just freaked out. And I was like, "God damn! If only it stuck."
Amazing.
Dude was everywhere though, man. I love his tenacity. I love the way he just like gets after it, and he just like he hounds people, and like he breaks up play, which I think is really important to do. Sometimes you can take a card, which I think is fine in his position. You kind of have to in some situations, but he's just like a menace. He just kind of like gets all over people, and like I said, he either takes a card or he kicks a ball out, but he breaks up the flow of like those counterattacks, which I think he needs to do, and he does a really good job of that.
And to be fair, Collins, I do, yes, at the time I was like, that is a ridiculous amount to pay for a backup, because Chills was playing very well, and given the system that we were in, Chills was the right man for that. They're two different styles of player, and we know Chilwell is not really in the plans for this year. Cucurella was playing the long game. Props to him.
So the last thing we're going to talk about here is one that I'm very excited about. We only have to wait a few more days for it. Chelsea's return to Europe. I know we've played Servette in the playoff round. That doesn't count. We're back in the proper group stage, the new group stage, the league format in the Conference League. And it kicks off this week with a match against Belgian side Ghent. I don't know. Guys, I'm excited. I want to kind of preview the Conference League here. Let's ignore the knockouts here, focus solely on the league. Where do you think we finish? What's an acceptable result? What gets us through? What are your expectations?
I haven't looked at anything related to the Conference League. I don't know at this point what it is. I don't know what the new format is. It's just another European competition at this point.
Who's in our group?
Well, so it's all right. I'm gonna break this down for you guys. It is a 32 team league. You play 8 matches. Everybody plays 8 matches against other teams in the league. Top X amount go automatically through, and then the middle third goes into a playoff to get into the knockouts. The bottom third is just eliminated. So not everybody plays each other. It's not all home and away. Trying to bring up Chelsea's fixture list here for it.
So we have
not
Ghent, and then we have Noah Yerevan, and then some Greek club it looks like.
So
names I can't pronounce.
Panathinaikos, Noah, Heidenheim from Germany, Astana from Kazakhstan, which that is going to be a fun match because we are basically playing it on the far eastern side of Kazakhstan, closer to the Chinese border than to Europe. Shamrock Rovers from Ireland would be the final match there. So with that all being said, expectations, boys.
I mean, no one scares me. The Servette match scared me because of how we operated. But jokes aside, I think the boys are clicking now, and I think like that second team can do a lot of damage, and that second team can do damage with some starters on the bench if we need to. If we need to kind of call in the guard, we sort of can. So, I think in that top third, I mean, I think that has to be the expectation. We have to have this competition circled as a must win, not only so we can say that we literally have won it all, but just to kind of put our stamp on Europe again. And, we have the biggest coefficient in this tournament by a long country mile. Like, we have by far the largest UEFA coefficient in this tournament. Everyone's looking at us. We're going to get everyone's best. I get it. But um, the talent even on our B squad is phenomenal. It's elite. It's world class. And I think that it needs to stand for himself. And I think it gives this B squad like a really like tangible thing to play for, where they're going to own it. They're going to be like, this is ours. This will be our competition to, put our stamp on the team and put our stamp on, the history books, for lack of a better term. And for guys to kind of make their claim to be included in the one squad.
I agree. Nobody like scares me. What actually scares me is the Premier League and other cup matches that sandwich all of this. That's what bothers me. So I'm kind of looking at the schedule right now. So we have Ghent 3 days later. Then we have Forest, which we have not done well against Forest in the last, I would say, 2 seasons since they've been up in the league. We have not done well against them. Then we have Liverpool after international break. 4 days later, play Panathinaikos. Then we have Newcastle, a cup game, United, Noah, then Arsenal. Then we have Leicester, Heidenheim, Villa, Southampton, Tottenham, Astana, Brentford, and then Shamrock. I'm more concerned about the other fixtures outside of the Conference League than I am the actual Conference League, because those are some pretty heavy fixtures that we have kind of sandwiched in the middle of all that. So I don't know, like, yes, we're going to have to burn a lot of like first team players. But it's just the turnaround for a lot of that. And, just in the back of your mind, what happens if injuries start piling up and we're kind of in the heart of this, then, the B team ends up being the A team. And then we got to call on the likes of, David Washington to try and lead the line for God knows what reason. Like it's the matches outside of it that scare me. Actual conference league matches, I'm fine, but it's just the outside fixtures that are worrisome.
Collins, do you know? Sorry to interrupt. I'm curious. So, like, I'm looking at our thing. Like, we don't have any FA Cup matches in that whole stretch. We don't have any EFL Cup matches anywhere in that stretch. Have those just not been scheduled, or have they been like postponed, and they probably will get put on the schedule sometime between now and mid-December?
So we don't typically enter the FA Cup until the first week of January. Um, the Carabao Cup, obviously, depends on how we do. We've got Newcastle, I believe, next, assuming they beat Wimbledon. But those weekends are established. They're just not set because we don't know if we're in them yet.
It looks like EFL Cup round of 16 is end of October. It's sandwiched between Newcastle and United. So, I mean, that could also go either way as far as when you're looking at that schedule. Granted, like, yes, I know some of those teams are kind of in shambles right now, but we know the history teams seem to try and turn it on when they play us. So
they're focusing on the conference league. There are two matches that worry me, and they're two away matches. One is at Panathinaikos in Greece. Games in Greece and Europe are crazy matches. Especially
but Collins, sorry to stop you, but we're loved in Greece though, aren't we?
Yeah, our
I thought we
podcast
were.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's okay. We'll make a few calls and we'll get it squared away.
The other one is the match against Astana. I don't expect a team from Kazakhstan to really put up a fight, but I know traveling across, gosh, that's got to be 10, 11 time zones to get to the stadium that they're going to be playing at. And all because Astana's stadium is under construction this year. So they'll play at the only other European competition eligible stadium in the country, which is 50 miles from the Chinese border. That's a lot of travel midweek. That one worries me. But I'm not worried about squad depth with this competition. I think that quote unquote B squad, which features Jao Felix and Christopher Nkunku, is too good for a lot of these teams. Most of these teams. Parker, like you said, we have the best coefficient out of any team in this competition, far and away, not even close. So I would expect to be, like I said, top 8 is the cutoff. I would expect to be a top 4 team. It would not surprise me to be A1. That no one in this competition is on our level, and we have the rare opportunity to not only train up these young guys in European competition. That goes for starters and B squad, being young guys in European competition. We also have the chance to become the first ever club to win all of the European competitions. And you know how much Chelsea loves being able to market themselves. That's a big opportunity there. Now we're sitting pretty right now in terms of Premier League position, but winning this competition guarantees you into the Europa League. So it's a nice little fallback there. So I think Chelsea's going to be more all in than a club of their size probably should be in this competition.
I just hope that as I'm looking at the fixtures, that Estonia match is the last one of that. So hopefully we have that wrapped up. I'm also looking at this and seeing December 12th in Kazakhstan and then a December 14th in the Premier League against Brentford. That has to get rescheduled, right? 2 days rest.
Yeah, they typically do all of the fixtures, realigning the fixtures for the month, I think 15 days before the month.
Yeah.
So that one will be pushed out later down the road, I'm sure.
If not, I could see like most of our team not travel for it. Especially if we've got top 8 kind of in the books, then a lot of our guys wouldn't play. Keep in mind, I don't think Cole Palmer's on the squad list for this tournament. It was him and Gusto and someone else maybe.
And Nico Jackson.
And Nico Jackson are not on the squad list for this, so they will be. You'll expect those guys to play in the Premier League games before and after every one of those competitions.
About to be the Mark Goo show.
I rubbed my eyes in the Brighton match when Nico Jackson found the keeper, and I was like, "Do we sub Goo on? What the hell's going on?" I was in too good of a mood to text you, Collins. That.
Yeah, well, when Matt's throwing darts in the group chat, things get a little fun.
It's always fun to joke around too when you're winning. It's less fun when people are throwing punches and we're also losing. That sucks.
Throwing potch outs 4 times a match. I don't know who did that though. I might have to go back and check the tape. So on that wonderful note, Matt, I know you wanted to talk about topic near and dear to your heart, and that's Collins guys.
A little bit of a rough day for the Collins guys. I mean, Bobby went back to being the prime Bobby that Parker and I see and that you still for some reason have blinders on to. And I love that whole thing. His decision making is getting better. I beg to differ after watching that one. And we can argue all you want over the first one, but you are 100% wrong. That is all him. That was the worst. He would have been better off just leaving the pitch. That would have been a better decision than trying to actually go for that ball. That was terrible. And then his distribution, it's been probably 2 or 3 games since we've seen one like that. So he was due. He's just keeping his quota kind of where it is. Shot stopping, yes, it's very good. It's the other piece of it that is still god awful. So and Collins, I know how much you love talking about improvement. I still don't see it with Bobby Sanchez. I see the same. And then the one thing that I saw, and I almost thought about texting you immediately, Collins, was the assist that Nico had for Palmer's first goal. Barely was able to even sort out his own feet in a 1v none situation against the goalie, and looked like he was about to trip over his own feet. I was like, oh, please do it, because I would love to send that to him right now. Be like, hey, look at that. That's your guy. Cool, calm, and collected in a 1v none. But it all worked out well for everybody, so that's all right.
In my defense on that one, Nico had defenders bearing down on him. It was not just him and the keeper. He did a fantastic job keeping that under control and laying that one off. So that's a round of applause to Nico Jackson there.
That was improvement for Nico Jackson. That absolutely was improvement. It was ugly, but it was improvement because I've seen Nico do a whole hell of a lot worse than that. He shit his pants and then figured it out and started his feet and found.
I was waiting for the alternative, him shit his pants, and then, we're like, oh, another opportunity. But I did see in a highlight where he shot it, and then the defender just came bolting across when he had that ball in from Palmer, and I was like, oh, if that couldn't have been scripted any better. 1v none goes around the keeper, and here comes this defender right in the middle of the goal just to nah.
And again, I will argue that Nico
Just
Jackson
fun.
had a good day. It was
It's fun. It's the same shit that I always see from Nico, and it for me it still holds true. Like, I know the things that he does. I'm not oblivious to that. All in all, I thought he had a good game, but for all of our listeners, in case you haven't noticed, there are some people that I analyze under a microscope. Usually, they are referred to as Collins's guys. So that would be a Bobby Sanchez. That would be a Nico Jackson. So I like pointing out all the things that they do wrong because usually it's glaringly obvious. But at the end of the day, no harm, no foul. We got the points. That's all you can ask for.
Tell me how you really feel about Jorginho.
No comment.
Matt would have hated Didier Drogba in his first year and a half at the club. Matt would have been calling for him to be released.
Probably.
What is ironic is going to the pub, you get a lot of different people. There are a lot of people that like really hate Nico Jackson, like think he's horrible. And then it makes me feel like I love him because I'm defending him. And I don't love him that much, but I like him more than a lot of people do, apparently. I didn't realize that.
There's a couple players like that. Up here in Milwaukee, I hear the West Fofana hate. And it's been pretty much since day one. I don't know. I don't understand where the quick to hate comes in.
I mean, he's one word.
Yeah, I would say I can kind of understand it just because of how much we paid for him and how little we have gotten out of him. Like that I can understand from
but he
just
was injured.
Right. No, I understand, but I'm saying but still, like, you spend a ton of money on him, and yes, he goes down injured, but then you're kind of left holding all that money still on one player that you're not getting anything out of, right? So I can see that being more frustrating than anything. But even when he has been back, like, he's still, I think I agree with Parker on this. He is still not an elite defender, an elite center back by any stretch of the imagination. I still don't think we have one. And yes, he's coming back from injury, completely understood. He's probably not going to be the same player, but at the same time, like, you spent all this money for this player. Injuries happen. I get it. It's a part of the game. And he hasn't been living up to it. He was touted as one of the probably one of the best young center backs in the world at the time. And now he's slightly above mid. So it's just frustrating. I don't think it has anything to do with him as like a person or a player. It's not what we expected out of him for what we paid for him.
I will say we are, as a group, seemingly more rational than some of the people we meet out in the wild. Even Raheem Sterling, we'll mention here. It took us a while to get on the Sterling, get the fuck out of here bandwagon. Now, once we were on it, we rode that hard, but yeah, no, there are times where I'm sure the three of us frustrate each other, but there are crazier people out in the world. This is what I'll say.
I agree with that. I think we all try to take somewhat measured takes and try to find, at least hear each other out. When we disagree, but at least hear each other's arguments for it and acknowledge some of it, whereas other people just kind of say, nope, out. The only time I felt like you've been like that, Collins, is with the manager at times. Not players, just managers.
Just the one managing USA.
This isn't the first time you've called for a manager's head on this podcast.
And it won't be the last.
No, it is the last. Maresca in. Maresca until we retire from this podcast.
Write it down, boys. It's going in the books. 9/29.
When are we doing our end of season wrap up?
As soon as
You
Kieran
have just
Dewsbury
won.
Hall wins his Player of the Year award.
Yeah, you have just won worst take of the season. Congratulations, Collins. Out. Maresca out in January.
Well, Maresca's winning the Premier League this year.
Call up Lamps. He's got nothing going on.
Vibey vibes. All right. Well, on that vibey note, boys, we are pushing somewhere near the hour. So if you've enjoyed what you listen to, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. I'd like to start a contest at some point for who can leave the shittiest review while also giving 5 stars. We'll find a prize for that. So spread the word. Also follow us on social media at Flag Down Pod. You can check our Man of the Match, Man to Get the Fuck Out of Here polls, which we will address now. Man of the Match was Cole Palmer, or other. Where are you guys voting?
Ooh, tough one. Someone actually voted for other. What the fuck? Mine was, Cole Palmer.
I'll take Brighton's defense for 400.
Always the contrarian. Nope, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer won with 91.7% of the vote overall. So congratulations to him. Man to get the fuck out of here. Graham Potter, Bobby Sanchez could have scored more. Matt, start with you.
Bobby Sanchez.
Yeah, same.
I didn't vote on this one. I would have voted Graham Potter. Graham Potter got 0% of the vote. Could have scored more. Was the winner.
Remember how we said that you have an issue with managers? Yeah, okay. Just wanted to circle back on that one.
Only bad ones. Only bad managers. All right. Well, again, follow us at Flag Down Pod anywhere you get your social media. Parker, closing thought?
Yeah, my closing thought is a high note, low note, because I love that Cole Palmer had the foresight to, and on media day, record himself going 1, 2, 3, 4. What if I score 4? So shout out to him. And then how can the official Chelsea Twitter not use that as the graphic when he scores 4? The guy wrote the script for you, man. And then they had some stock just name badge thing that they put. I'm like, come on, man. Show the whole video of him saying, what if I score 4? And then the whole back and forth. Just do that. Everyone else put it out there because it was hilarious when he did it. And just they kind of just blew a perfect opportunity. So come on, Chelsea Twitter manager.
Matt, any closing thought from you?
I hope I don't get caught in a hurricane.
Fair.
All right, well, make sure to check us next week to see if Matt survives his trip to Disney. But no, boys, it's been a pleasure, and we'll chat again soon.
Later, boys.
Later.